Published 0611 est. The 9th of November 2017. Updated 1349 est. The 9th of November 2017. Prince Harry has honored the nation's war dead and joked with one veteran about bringing Meghan Markle to the event next year. Harry, 33, laid a wooden cross at Westminster Abbey's Field of Remembrance ahead of Armistice Day, in memory of those who made the ultimate sacrifice. He looked relaxed as he chatted and laughed with veterans from past and present conflicts. Prince Harry shakes hands with a child at Westminster Abbey's Field of Remembrance where he honored the fallen today. Britain's Prince Harry salutes to a young boy, who returns the gesture during the ceremony at Westminster Abbey today. Harry looked relaxed as he chatted and laughed with veterans from past and present conflicts in London today. Watchman Greg Hedges is given a lick from his Staffordshire Bull Terrier at Westminster Abbey's Field of Remembrance today. Prince Harry pets Staffordshire Bull Terrier Watchman V, the former mascot of the Staffordshire Regiment. At the ceremony, Harry smiles as he speaks to veterans as he attends the official opening ceremony of the Field of Remembrance today. Harry joked with Matt Weston, who was a bomb disposal expert in Afghanistan, about bringing his U.S. actress girlfriend to the event, around a year after their relationship hit the headlines. Mr. Weston, 28, said I took the mickey and asked where his missus was and he said she wasn't here. I asked if she would come next time because she's awesome. And he said he couldn't hide her anywhere, but I said you wouldn't have to hide her, I would love to meet her, I think she's very cool. He's a very lucky man and she's brilliant. Mr. Weston, from Taunton, Somerset, lost both his legs when an improvised explosive device exploded in 2009 while he was serving with the Royal Engineers 33 Regiment. Prince Harry is at Westminster Abbey's Field of Remembrance in London today to honour the fallen ahead of Armistice Day. Harry placed a wooden cross in the grounds of the Abbey in memory of those who made the ultimate sacrifice. The 33-year-old will also meet veterans from past and present conflicts during the visit in central London today. Harry, who placed a cross before saluting today, served for 10 years in the Army, and was twice deployed to Afghanistan. Harry salutes during a visit to the Field of Remembrance at Westminster Abbey in central London this morning. Harry took part in the act of remembrance at Westminster Abbey this morning ahead of Armistice Day. It was great seeing him again. I met him before at the Afghanistan and Iraq Memorial unveiling, he added. Prince Harry was wearing his Household Division ceremonial uniform of a black frock today. Frock coats are a form of undress, which is one formality level below full dress, and can be worn by certain officers of the Household Division. The coats, worn at formal occasions by those not on parade in command of troops, are single-breasted and dark blue with black braiding and loops. Harry's peaked black and red cap featured the Blues and Royals badge. This contains the letters Ir Elizabeth Regina and the Maximani Swaki Mal Y Pons, which means may he be shamed who thinks badly of it. Harry also stopped to talk to 7-year-old Harrison DeGiorgio Lewis, who he recognized after meeting him at the Abbey last year. Harrison's uncle, Lieutenant Aaron Lewis, of 29 Commando Regiment Royal Artillery, was killed in Afghanistan in December 2008 when insurgents attacked a forward operation base he jointly commanded with Danish troops. Harrison, who was accompanied by his grandmother, Helen Lewis, was wearing his uncle's campaign medals and beret. He has been coming here for 4 years now to represent his uncle, said Mrs. Lewis, 61, who lives near her grandson in Rochford, Essex. She added Harry recognized him. They have a bond, as they share a birthday. Harry asked him about his uncle Aaron, and he said how proud he was. Harry, dressed in his Household Division frock coat and peaked cap, laid a cross in the grounds of Westminster Abbey when he arrived. He solemnly saluted and stood in silence with hundreds of veterans as the last post was played. Prince Harry greets others who attended Westminster Abbey's Field of Remembrance in London this morning. The 33-year-old royal smiles and waves as onlookers take pictures of him on their camera phones. This morning Harry removed his gloves and smiled following the laying of the cross at Westminster Abbey this morning. The fifth in line to the throne spent 10 years serving in the army and was twice deployed to Afghanistan. Harry laughs as he talks with veterans and serving members of the armed forces during his visit to the Field of Remembrance. Crowds of onlookers and police could be seen watching on as Harry arrived at Westminster Abbey earlier today. Harry later stopped to talk to Joan Davall and Diana Lidstone, who served with the Auxiliary Territorial Service, the women's branch of the British Army, during the Second World War. Mrs. Lidstone, 93, from Luton, said he asked how we were and if we're staying down over the weekend. Mrs. Davall, 92, added that was wonderful to meet Harry on the 100-year anniversary of women serving in the British military. The prince shared a joke with D-Day veteran George Chandler, 93, who has been coming to the event for 15 years. A man installs a wooden cross with a poppy in the Field of Remembrance at Westminster Abbey in London this morning. Members of the armed forces look at remembrance crosses in the Westminster Abbey Field of Remembrance this morning. Chelsea pensioners and members of the armed forces look at the crosses in the Field of Remembrance in London today. The first Field of Remembrance was held in the grounds of Westminster Abbey in November 1928, making 2017 the 89th year. A Chelsea pensioner looks at crosses in the Westminster Abbey Field of Remembrance in London this morning. Crosses in the Field of Remembrance mark the death of soldiers in various conflicts over the decades. Around 70,000 tiny crosses, many carrying handwritten messages, are laid in 380 plots at the site at Westminster Abbey. M.R. Chandler, who served with the Royal Navy Coastal Forces, said last year he asked me what's in my bag and I said a bottle of water and a machine gun. This year I told him I didn't bring them and he laughed at that. Around 70,000 tiny crosses, many carrying handwritten messages, are laid on 380 plots in the Abbey grounds representing military regiments, units, organizations and other groups. Harry served for 10 years in the army, and was twice deployed to Afghanistan. 2016 Prince Harry lays a wooden cross at Westminster Abbey's Field of Remembrance to remember the fallen. Last year 2015 Prince Harry pays his respects at Westminster Abbey's Field of Remembrance in London. 2 years ago 2014 Prince Harry salutes in front of a cross of remembrance as he opens the 86th Field of Remembrance. 3 years ago 2013 Prince Harry meets servicemen and women at the Field of Remembrance at Westminster Abbey. 4 years ago the fifth in line to the throne visited the site last year with his grandfather, the Duke of Edinburgh. Each November the charity The Poppy Factory establishes a Field of Remembrance in the Abbey grounds, a sea of crosses with scarlet poppies, in tribute to those who paid the ultimate sacrifice for their country. The first Field of Remembrance was held in the grounds of Westminster Abbey in November 1928. That year only 2 remembrance tribute crosses were planted. But it began a tradition that has grown over the decades, and it is now in its 89th year. Each remembrance tribute now carries a personal message to someone who lost his or her life in the service of our country. Harry served with the Blues and Royals, Royal Horse Guards and 1st Dragoons of the Household Cavalry. The Cavalry Regiment was formed in 1969 from the Royal Horse Guards Blues and the Royal Dragoons 1st Dragoons. The Household Cavalry has served in both Iraq and Afghanistan, with its most recent deployment to the latter in 2013. The Blues and Royal rehearsed for the Freedom of the City parade at Hyde Park in London last year. The Royal Horse Guards can be traced back to a force raised by Oliver Cromwell prior to the Second Invasion of Scotland. The regiment was favoured by King George III and it was elevated to the status of Household Cavalry in 1813. It went on to see service as part of the Household Brigade at the Battle of Waterloo in 1815. Meanwhile, the Royal Dragoons trace their origins back to a troop raised by King Charles II in 1661. This formed part of the garrison at Tangier, which was part of the dowry of Catherine of Braganza. The Cavalry Regiment was formed in 1969 from the Royal Horse Guards Blues and the Royal Dragoons 1st Dragoons. The term dragoon derived from the dragon, a musket suitable for mounted infantry. They also served in the War of the Spanish Succession, the War of the Austrian Succession and in the Spanish Peninsula. The regiment distinguished itself at the Battle of Waterloo, capturing the French 105th Infantry Regiment's colours. The regiment fought at Ypres, Loos, Hohenzollern and against the Hindenburg Line in 1917. Operation Overlord in 1944 saw the regiment in Normandy, from where they went on to liberate Copenhagen in 1945. The first Field of Remembrance was held in Westminster Abbey's grounds in November 1928, making 2018 the 89th year. In the first year only 2 crosses were planted, but it began a tradition that took root and has grown over the decades. Each remembrance tribute carries a personal message to someone who lost his or her life in the service of the country. The tiny crosses in the Field of Remembrance represent military regiments, units, organizations and other groups. Ex-servicemen or members of the public plant the crosses in memory of their fallen comrades and loved ones. Poppies were first suggested as a symbol of remembrance in 1918 and were adopted by the American Legion in 1920. In 1921 the British Legion adopted the idea too and the first poppy appeal was born. The other fields are located in Lydiard Park in Wiltshire, Cardiff, Belfast, Gateshead, Edinburgh and Inverness. The Westminster Abbey Field will remain open this year every day from 9 a.m. 4 p.m. until Sunday, November 19th.